Hello, my lovely friend. Hello and welcome back to my home. I will share with you a recipe, a Ukrainian recipe of rogaliki. It's probably one of my favoriteest cookies, and I'm not going to cut any corners. It will go from this cooking book. I have a couple of cooking books by this author. Her name is Daria Tzvek. She's an old Polish Ukrainian who lived in Lviv, and she still has a bakery and there are a ton of wonderful recipes that she created. She was a very artistic woman. She played the instruments, she played, I think, the flute. She did a lot of embroidery, and she was a magnificent housewife. So I know my mom cooked a lot of her recipes, and I respect and honor her, the recipes that she created, and love the book. And every single recipe is a masterpiece. It is absolutely foolproof. It's great. So I will be making a double batch of these rogaliki. I make them small. You know, these are like rugelach, but not the big hunky ones that you find in the stores, but really delicate and thin ones. And we'll do it with the sour plum jam that you can buy in Polish stores and Polish supermarkets. It's just pure plum jam with no sugar added. It's tart, but there's enough sugar in the recipe itself, and they're absolutely delightful. I will be telling you the recipe for one batch, but I will be doubling them because one batch is not that much. And for my family, and once you try one, you can't really stop. I remember once I was bringing them back from the house to the city, and my doorman just couldn't eat enough of them. He was helping us transport all the boxes and boxes of these cookies before I bagged them, and he just couldn't help it. They are addictive. So this is what we're gonna do. So let's measure first flour. So we need, for one batch, 350 grams of flour. We use the scale, subtract, and I will be measuring double of that, 700. You know, now it is so easy to find all sorts of recipes, particularly if you speak different languages. And even if you don't, Google Translate is wonderful. So, and I use recipes in all different languages. I studied German as well as English, so it's easier for me to understand. But you can Google Translate anything. And as I said, every country has something delightful to share with the world. 700 grams, 350 grams of flour, and then 250 grams of soft butter. And I'm doubling, so I'm putting 500. Perfect. So 250 grams of soft butter. They go in, they mix together. They are flaky. They are crumbly. Crumbly is a little different than crunchy. And it really warms my heart to be able to share with you something that is quite a legacy, true legacy of the culture that brought me to life. I am born and raised Ukrainian. I only moved here when I was 27. So I have as much respect for my motherland as I do for my homeland. Both are amazing countries. Okay, so butter goes in. And you know me, I don't like, I'm very efficient when I cook and bake. So this recipe also requires 10 grams of yeast, 10 grams of raw yeast. I'm using dry. Usually it's 1:3 proportion. Just a teaspoon of dry yeast. And because I'm doubling a teaspoon of dry yeast. I buy a big batch, put it in the jar, and keep it in my freezer. Now let's start this mixing, and I'll tell you what goes next. Go nice and slow. That's why they have these plastic covers, so it doesn't go all over the place. Now, these are not 3 ingredient. This is not a 3 ingredient recipe. We need to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Remember, I'm doubling, so don't watch what I'm doing. 1 tablespoon of sugar. This is not a very sweet dough. And we also need half a cup of sour cream. You like these matryoshka measuring cups? My mother-in-law gave these to me as a gift. So, good sour cream. Don't watch me, I am doubling. So I'm gonna put a whole cup in. And this is a Ukrainian recipe. And sour cream is a staple, and we use it even in baking. Nice. So, see, it already came together. Now, sour cream goes in. Two egg yolks are going in. Just scrape everything. I hate to waste anything, because waste, just as well as squandering or stinginess, it's all the same, creates poverty. So if you squander, if you waste, or if you're very stingy and never share anything with anybody, you will be poor. Money likes generosity. This is what you give, is what you get. Egg yolks, 2 egg yolks. Let's see what Mrs. Daria Tzvek, what else she wants us to put. Of course, a pinch of salt. Always a pinch of salt in the baking. And this is it. This is the dough. I'm gonna make it, let it mix nicely, get incorporated. And of course, I'm gonna wrap it in the plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator. And we'll sit there, cool it, and tomorrow, today for you, you'll see how I roll them up. I'll show you some secret mixture that I add to the jam. If you want to make it perfect, you'll have to go and scavenge hunt and find something, or maybe make something. And if you try these, you will not be disappointed. There's a lot of love that goes into these cookies, and they are delightful. They're magnificent. Okay, so now let's make the filling for the dough. So the dough is chilled. I'm gonna roll it out, and I'll show you how I cut it for rogaliki. Now the next step is what my mom, Luda, she's preparing the filling. And what you need is the sours the sour the better, the plum butter, plum jam. This actually has some sugar to it, but there is another one that is super thick, has 0 sugar in it, is extremely tart and delicious. And what mom is also poking through is these are rose hips, flowers from the rose hips, ground together with some sugar and lemon acid, you know, some acidity to make it non-perishable. And it is extremely fragrant. You can probably get dry rose petals and grind them, you know, maybe soak them a little bit in the liquid and then grind them together. I don't know if there is a replacement to this. This is just wonderful. If you had smell-o-vision, you would know what I mean. It is extremely fragrant. So mom is gonna mix it all together. While she's doing it, I will roll the dough and cut it the way it needs to be cut, and we'll show you how to roll these up. So this is how I cut the dough, just a chunk of it, a third. It's not super thin. It's about this thin, probably 2 millimeters. And then you put a little bit of the jam and roll it on the bias. And that's it. And we're gonna roll this and put it on the baking sheet, and when it's all done, I'll show you. So basically you take it as a rhomb on the bias, put a little jam, doesn't have to be drowning in that jam. I typically smear it with the back of my spoon. I'll show you how I do it as well. And then roll it up. And it is a little tedious, but they're delicious. Listen. Good stuff requires some work. Watch. You don't have to be perfect. Get the back of the spoon, smear it like this. And by the way, it could be done with any kind of filling. Okay? The jam has to be super thick, otherwise it will melt and it will be on the baking sheet. It happened to me too. I thought something that was not as thick. This might even do it to us as well. Once I roll all these, I will wash it with the egg wash. See how simple they are? They don't raise up that much. They store pretty well. And then one thing, I roll them out a little bit too thick, so you can roll them thinner. You can make them bigger if you want. And it cooks pretty quickly when you have 2 carrots. So we'll do it fairly quickly. And I'll show you how I egg wash them, put them in the oven, and how I finish them when they come out. Alright, so I have 2 sheets like these. Me and mom, we didn't cook. Boom, boom, boom. Half an hour, we're done. Roll it. And this is 3 batches. If you will have 2 pots for them, I recommend do a couple of batches. Pick a butter jam that is the tartest you can find, the thickest you can find, and use it. So I will bake these at 410, 425 degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. Again, it all depends. I start with 15 and then I keep an eye on them. And if I feel they need more, I leave them for longer. And ovens, I use convection ovens, so clearly I adjust the temperature. So the range, don't be scared of the range. If you're watching this video and you are attempting to produce something like this, you are fearless already. So 410 to 425, 15 to 20 minutes. And what I was doing while I was telling you about how long to keep them for, I was egg washing them. And they're going into the oven. And then I'll wash the other ones with the egg. And they will go into the oven. Alright, here's rogaliki. See, they ran a little bit, but not that much. I let them cool a tiny bit. And what I'm going to do is put them in the bowl and sprinkle them with powdered sugar. So it's hard to do it with one hand. I just want to show you how it all looks. So you sprinkle them, mix them up a little bit so they're all completely coated, and I'll continue with the rest of them. And they are flaky, they are soft, and they are amazing. They will endure for a while because they have yeast, so they're not going to dry up quick. They are amazing. They are worth the work, the love that you put into them. All right, this is the finished product. Look how beautiful, how gorgeous they look. They are magnificent and so delicious. The rose, smell of the rose petals, and they are flaky and soft and tart and sweet. They are just a magnificent combination.